Hello, I'm Gloria Horsley, and our topic today is how men and women grieve differently, and my guest is Ken Doka. Ken is a professor of the College of New Rochelle and a senior consultant to the Hospice Foundation of America. Well, Ken, it's really an interesting topic on how men and women grieve. We hear a lot about it. Is there a difference between the way they grieve?
Well, what Terry Martin and I do in our work is we've moved away from looking at this solely as an issue of gender. And our notion is some men grieve differently from some women. What we talk about really are what we call styles of grieving. One style is a more what we like to call intuitive style. Lots of women have that style, but some men have that style as well. And in the intuitive style, people experience grief often as waves of feeling as they describe their grief experience. What they often say is that as I express my grief, it comes out in anger and crying and in an externalization of these emotional states. And what helps them often are talking about their grief, dealing with their emotions, finding ways to process their feelings. But on the other end, and you have to look at this as a continuum, on the other end of that continuum is a style we call instrumental. Lots of men are instrumental, but some women are instrumental as well. And the instrumental style is a style in which when you ask a person how did he or she experience grief, they're much more likely to talk in terms of, well, I kept thinking about the person, or maybe physically, I felt somebody punch me in the stomach. When you ask them, how did that grief come out? Often they'll be a little bit confused by that question, but sometimes they'll say, I began to exercise a lot more. I was interested in setting up a scholarship fund for my daughter. I was doing things like that. And often it's the doing that really works as a way of helping them deal with their grief.
Well, is there a better way? Do women grieve better than men? Are they getting it over quicker? Are men building houses and getting over it quicker? Or
well,
what?
Again, let's move away from gender and let's talk about the different styles that people have rather than men and women. Because as I said, sometimes you can see women who are more instrumental and men who are more intuitive. I think the issue is that each style has its own strengths, its own limitations. We like to say these are differences. These are not deficiencies.
I like that.
These are simply ways that families have to understand that people may approach this loss differently. And it certainly doesn't mean that one person loves somebody less than another.
Yeah, because we hear that. You don't love me as much because you don't get upset about it. You're not, you
didn't love my
involved.
child, our child, this kind of thing.
Right. So what if we've got different styles? How do we get along?
Well, I think the first thing is you respect the fact that these styles are different. I think you start out with a recognition that, and a lot of times, if you look at this, it really goes back, when I work with families therapeutically, I often look at the issue of attraction. What did you like about the person? Mm-hmm. Well, what I liked about the person, he was strong, he was tough. He was my rock. Mm-hmm. When my father died, he was there for me. And then you say, what's bothering you now? He's a rock, and it's often
good.
The same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing is to recognize the differences in styles and to see them as things where you can complement and partner each other. Sometimes with families, I show them a little, as homework, I take them to a clip of Home Improvement. And it's a wonderful episode where Jill's dealing very emotionally with the loss of her father, and Tim is really there, who loved the father as well, his father-in-law. And he's dealing with it by getting into the plane and getting things organized and bringing the kids. And there's a wonderful ending to the show, very different from their other shows, where Jill is often talking about what Tim should be doing. And she said, so many times I want you to be more like me. And I really realized in this loss that I needed you to be you. And it's that recognition of the strengths in our complementary styles, if in fact they are complementary, that really are so important.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Delighted to be here.
came to rescue me. You must have heard me calling through my fitful sleep. You know I wish I could be grateful instead of full of fear. The kind of love that you gave me I can't replace with tears. And though I'll never feel that love again,